through the software now we can increase the quality, decrease the quantity, and then there's some other changes as well, such as the CE-Chirp. So if you could, I'd like you to tell me what is a CE-Chirp and how has that changed things?
Well, let me first talk about a chirp in general. Chirps are stimuli that have been around, well, since the 80s, but they've only recently been enhanced and applied in electrophysiology. I'll go back to the click stimulus. The click is used often in electrophysiology because it's broadband. It has all the frequencies in it, and consequently, it activates all of the cochlea. And we like the click for that reason. It gives us a nice clean response with lots of neurons firing. The problem with the click has to do with the fact that the activation of the basilar membrane in the cochlea is staggered, that the high frequency region of the cochlea will be activated first, and then the mid-frequency regions and the low-frequency regions, and this is what we call the traveling wave. That's simply due to the mechanics of the cochlea.
Sure.
And when that happens, this response is staggered. So the high frequencies neurons respond first, then the mid-frequencies, and then the low frequencies. As you average those responses, the response from different regions of the cochlea will cancel each other and reduce. So the high frequencies are already finished, and then the mid frequencies are coming in, and the phase of the response is going to cause a cancellation in the response. You get lower amplitude. So even though you're activating all the neurons, they're interfering with each other. So the concept of a chirp is to re-engineer the stimulus such that the low frequencies start first, then the mid frequencies, then the high frequencies. And it's a little like if you started the slow runners in a race first, and then the mid ones, and then the fast runners started last, and they all crossed the finish line at the same time.
Fantastic.
So by staggering the frequency components of the response, you can get all the neurons to fire at the same time. They're all in phase, and you see a much bigger amplitude to the response.
And I wonder if you could tell me why is it called a CE-Chirp?
Exactly. CE stands for Klaus Elberling. And Klaus Elberling, along with his colleagues, including Manny Don and Sturzenbecher and Sabula and others, have long been working on cochlear mechanics and electrophysiologic measures from the cochlea. They have years of data and experience with this traveling wave and the staggering frequencies and phases. So they have used that information and all of that data to determine how to build this chirp such that it would mimic what happens in the human ear. There are many different designs for chirps, all based on different traveling wave estimates, and we don't know exactly what the traveling wave does in the cochlea. But based on some of Manny Don's work with derived bands and with tone burst ABRs, all this information has gone together to build an accurate chirp that mimics what happens in the human cochlea.
Let's talk about how does all of this affect audiologists and other people using evoked potentials? How does it impact auditory electrophysiology in 2014 and beyond?
Well, one of the biggest needs in audiology and one of the biggest demands right now in audiology is the follow-up of infants who fail newborn hearing screening. This is happening throughout the world. The baby fails, they need to come in for a full assessment of electrophysiologic thresholds. As I just mentioned, how much averaging you need to do and how much time it takes to get a threshold depends on very much the amplitude of the response. If we can build this stimulus such that it will double the amplitude of the response with no need to do anything on the part of the user except to select a chirp stimulus, they get twice the amplitude, then we can have the time of averaging. So it's going to have an incredible effect on how quickly we can assess infants and toddlers, and the quality of the responses that we're going to get as well.
That's fantastic. Okay, well, and can CE-Chirps be used beyond ABR and any of those standard evoked potential applications?
Yes, in fact, not only can you build a broadband chirp, but you can build narrowband chirps. So you can take something like a tone burst, a small region, and simply start the lower parts of the lower frequencies of the tone burst first prior to the higher frequency sections, and build a narrowband chirp that also enhances the amplitude of the response. Not as much as the broadband, but may even double the amplitude of the response. And so you can use those narrowband chirps to elicit ABRs, and you can also use them by changing the rate of the response. You can use them to generate the auditory steady state response.